Welcome back. This is Harmonize Your Life Conversations on Self-Care for Women of Color with your host, Dr. Toni Alvarado. And I am glad to have you here with me once again to talk about issues of self-care, particularly in the African American community, among women of color, families of color, Black men's health, all those things that we need to be a healthy community. I have a dynamic couple that's going to close out our month. This month we have been dealing with some very serious matters concerning self-care. And last week and this week, I have two couples that have come to us to talk about this issue of self-care in marriage. Last week you heard from Bishop Michael Kenyon and Dr. Teena Gamble, and they shared their testimony of how the Lord brought them through the COVID-19, their battle and scare with COVID-19, and what they have done over the years, their 34 years of marriage, and how they have supported one another, and most recently how they supported one another through this COVID-19 pandemic, as they both were sick and hospitalized. And Dr. Teena Gamble even shared how she literally almost died, and how they supported each other, and they're still yet in their recovery and have a powerful testimony. If you have not listened to that episode, I invite you to go back and grab it. But this week we have a couple who is near and dear to my heart. I know them personally, have walked with them in ministry in my local church, but even before, they were members of my local church, the church where Bishop Alvarado and I serve as pastors. We have been friends for a number of years. Since I've been in the Atlanta area. It seems like I've been knowing y'all forever. But I want to introduce this power couple to you. Michael and Teena Gamble are our guests on today. Let me read you a little bit of their bios. Michael Gamble is 45-year career in the radio industry, started at the age of 15 in his hometown of Jacksonville, Florida, at the WPDQ AM 600 radio station. Michael's work in major market radio began in Atlanta at the WIGO in August 1976 and was later hired by then powerhouse competitor WAOK in 1979. While at WAOK, he was promoted to program director and later to director of gospel programming, overseeing the company's 3 gospel stations to include Heaven 600 WCAO, Baltimore, which he established with Lee Michaels, and Heaven 97 KHVE in Dallas, Texas. Michael has received the prestigious Marconi Award and other nominations for his work in the radio industry and gospel community. With his diverse background and experience, Michael is considered an expert in gospel radio and asked to serve on countless panels and conference workshops. He and his wife, Teena, operate CLI Media and New Media Direct, a media buying and digital marketing agency specializing in activating advertisers, sponsors for urban faith-based radio. All right, that's some good stuff about Michael. Let's hear about Teena now. Teena is a fashion stylist, a certified life coach, and social skills teacher at the Harvest Rain Academy after-school program. For over 25 years, she enjoys mentoring and empowering women to feel and look their best from the inside out. Teena, you'll be happy to know we did a session earlier this month with Michelle Patton Johnson on this same issue. You know, she acknowledged her call to ministry in 1995 at the Capitol View United Methodist Church under the pastorate of Pastor Otis and evangelist Laura Pickett. They were members there from 1991 to 2006, and Teena served as the worship leader, youth minister, and director of after-school and summer camp programs there for 8 years. In 2003, Teena created Choices, training that lasts a lifetime, an 8-week program designed to train and help young ladies of all ages build their self-esteem, learn basic etiquette, and teach them how to manage body shaming and social media stigmas. In 2013, after being healed of cancer, she created Choices, the pathway to self awareness for women. Teena is known for her real talk style of teaching God's word and has been instrumental in changing the lives of women from all walks of life. Teena and her husband Michael have been married for 31 years. Mike and Teena together have a passion to help encourage and restore marriages and facilitate countless workshops and conferences. They are often special guests on Praise 102.5 radio host KD Bowes Man Up Community Couples Edition. They became members of Grace Church International under Bishop Alvarado and myself, and they have given oversight to our marriage ministry for a number of years. From 2009 until 2017, they served as the principal leaders, and now they're still a part of the leadership team of our marriage ministry, the GCI for Life Marriage Ministry. They have 4 adult children, 5 grandchildren, and a dog named their dog, their Maltese named Mao. All right, come on now for the dog lovers. I'm gonna have to, see if Leo can do a dog play date or something with the.
Yeah.
Although Bishop says dogs like Leo eat dogs like my
Yeah, like Eve.
Right.
Bishop Eve. Uh-huh.
right.
Right.
But anyway, welcome guys. It's so good to have you on the Harmonize Your Life podcast today.
Amen. Thank you.
We're
Glad to be
excited to
here.
be here.
Good, good, good. Thank you again. And I listen, you know, I'm passionate. We are about ministering to couples, and you all have shared that same passion, which is why we had you serve for so many years over our marriage ministry. How long have you all been married now?
It'll be 32 years in September. September
32 years in
30th.
September.
Amen.
So you have some good history together.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Good history together. And
Absolutely.
you've seen each other through many ups and downs,
Yes.
you know.
Absolutely.
And so, in these last weeks of the month of June, because Bishop and I celebrate our wedding anniversary in the month of June, I thought it would be befitting to invite some couples to share on the podcast about self care in marriage. Okay, we've been married 27 years, and this year, June  26th, is our wedding anniversary. It's 27 years for us on June 26th, and so I know what it's like to be able to support my husband's health goals and him support me in my goals. And we do things a little differently, he and I, but yet we both are serious about being healthy, and we have to support one another in those goals. And so I wanted to kind of delve into that a little bit with you guys and just kind of hear your story. I wanted you to share your story with the podcast listeners in what you do in your marriage, how you all support each other. What do you do individually, and what do you do together? What has been some of your struggles? And then I want you to share a little bit about your journey, Tina's journey through cancer, and how you work together through that season of your marriage. So yeah, let's just jump in and talk about it a little bit, uh, guys. So let's talk. So what do you
Well,
think?
well, thanks, Dr. Tony, for having us. Initially, when Tina and I were dating in the early '80s, well, we both kind of came into our awareness, spiritual awareness, and I needed to make a decision whether or not I was going to marry her, and I
Mm-hmm.
elected at that time this was not what I was ready to do, and quite frankly, I wasn't either man enough or mature enough, if not both, to take on a woman and her 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple of 2, 3 years later, after I recommitted my life to the Lord and started going to Bible study and pursued a real single life, just going to church, going to work, going to church, going to work, I talked to one of my spiritual fathers, and I told him, "Man, I am having a rough time with the single thing." The long and short of it was, he told me, "I perceive it's time for you to be praying about a wife." And I was reading my Bible one day, and the scripture jumped out at me at a man who finds a wife finds a good thing. and obtain favor of the Lord. And at that time in my life, I needed as much favor as I could get my hands on. So um, one day I was thinking of Teena. I had some tickets to a concert, and I called Teena just to see whether she was in town. She was, and we kind of rekindled our relationship at that point. Shortly after that, 8 months later, I think we got married. And Teena was a singer at the time. She was in entertainment. I was still in media and radio, part-time capacity at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But we always were friends. We were always encouraging and supportive of one another in whatever endeavor we chose. And so that has been the foundation of our journey, being best friends and partners and supporters of one another. Um,
Wow. Wow.
as
So,
time went on,
mm-hmm.
naturally, I was promoted and my career started taking place, and we were concerned about merging our two families. I had a son from a previous relationship, and she had her two children. So God was faithful to us. We knew we had to go to church. We had to go to every marriage seminar because we had a blended family. And we
Mm-hmm.
believe that we just kind of avail ourselves to the people of God and every marriage retreat that we thought was really worthwhile, that we would make it. And and God has been faithful. And 31 years, going on 32 years later, we're still together.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And so, Dr. Tony, that is the foundation
Yeah.
of how we've been able, the question you're asking as far as support each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because how we came together, we had to choose to stay supportive. You know, that blended family piece
Mm.
is a piece, and you have to really work it out. Early on, and I didn't think anything of it because my mother has always been taking vitamins. She was always
Hmm.
exercising and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But one time when Michael was in Ohio, he noticed she had the vitamin Bible. And what had happened, I shared with him, yes, when she would get a pill from the doctor,
Mm-hmm.
she would go to this vitamin book that we call the vitamin Bible and find out what the vitamin was to supplement for this pill.
Wow.
And that's what she began to do. What Michael just was like, wow. So it just so happened after that, we started really investing in vitamins because he saw how she was. And we had kids getting ready to go off into school, college and everything. And there was a period, honestly,
We didn't have no
we didn't
health
have any
insurance.
health insurance.
We were praying for him every day, and
And taking those vitamins. And do you know, I think it was a 4 years, 3 4 years. Do you know no one was sick?
no, we didn't have any.
Wow.
And so that I don't know if just God just allowed that to show us this is important. Where everyone else was getting colds, we took it seriously the importance of now we got to make sure we put in our bodies
Okay.
what
Yeah.
they need.
Okay. So when you say so part of your thing has been your vitamin regimen and things of that
Yes.
nature. Do you all find that as a couple, do you find, have you had any struggles in maybe Mike prefers certain things over what you prefer, because sometimes when it comes like to eating healthy, I'll use that
Yes.
as an example.
Right.
So, a lot of times maybe one spouse is on this I'm going to eat healthy kick, and then the other
Right.
spouse feel like they being drugged along. I got to eat it because you're eating it, that kind of thing. Have y'all had any moments like that where maybe Mike was on a journey and Teena you came along, or Mike you on a I mean Teena you on a journey and Mike you came along, or was it, has who has influenced the other one in some seasons?
Well, what's interesting because I'm a vegetarian.
Right.
So what even though I would still cook meat, I still did the cooking and everything. But what I've noticed since going through the healing of cancer, Michael has definitely changed his eating habits of I mean from just a lot of stuff that he used to just eat all the time.
Yeah.
So I think it was a give and take. I But I would say that he's come a long way
Yeah.
because I've kind of been consistent and then going through, having to change everything. There are things that we just got out of the house, we wouldn't bring in the house.
Right.
And it helped me, but I noticed he started eating more healthier
So
too.
would you
And
say, Mike, let me ask you this, Mike, just in your estimation, I mean, a lot of times what I've seen is that wives tend to go on these journeys and then husbands become influenced by their wives in these journeys. Have you noticed that as a pattern sometimes with men?
yes, not as often as it should be. Um, so sometimes I guess it's the nature of us to sometimes think we're a lot tougher. We can endure a little longer. We don't have to do it quite yet more than we ought to. Women are more secure minded. They don't take as many risks. I think subconsciously we take a little more risk than we should.
So are
And
you saying
uh,
the men, wait a minute, let me just make sure I'm understanding. So you're saying for men, they tend to think they don't have to do it right now. I could do it
correct,
later. Okay.
correct. And I find that with most of my colleagues, fraternity brothers, et cetera, when you have that conversation, and they are a little more amenable as they get older because you can always push that button and appeal to them. But Dr. Tony, when I was working, Tina was mostly a housewife. One of the businesses that we started was we were I was working for a gentleman who sold natural herbs.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a hoax. I knew, listen, I knew I wasn't going to be there long because my conscience wouldn't let me, sell. He was selling a bag of herbs for 67 bucks, a bag of loose herbs for $67. Now, I was his media buyer. I bought radio time on different stations all around the country. And when he would ask me to go in the back and record the testimonies, well, Dr. Tony, you can't get old ladies to lie about spending their $67 and it didn't work. And I stayed there. I worked for him for a year. I want to let you know now. I worked for him for a year, and I began to read up on. At that time, this is the mid latter '90s, right
Mm-hmm.
before our oldest went to college. And I began to read up on these different herbs and say, "Wow, these herbs have some real benefit to them." Well, this is a year and a half. This man sold 100 bags of herbs a day
Oh my God.
Yes.
for a year. Now, that's a long time to hoodwink people. And when you're talking about, and it was mostly older women, they were either, grandmamas or mothers, and they would buy it for their husbands or their children, their sons. And let me tell you, the testimonies were incredible. You couldn't have paid people to do them. So at that point, I was pretty much convinced there's something to it. So my wife and I began to drink this tea. And Tina used to have some incredible
Migraine.
migraine headaches. I mean, excruciating. And one day we were driving one day. She looked at me. She said, "Do you know I haven't had a migraine headache and I don't know when?" And
Wow.
that was
Yes.
not one of the characteristics of the herbs, but it was just one of the benefits.
Yes.
We just didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
one of the herbs in there was ginkgo biloba, which we found out to be good for memory and for the brain and so on and
Mm-hmm.
so forth. So from that point on, coupled with the experience I had with my mother-in-law, and by the way, it really caught my attention when my mother-in-law was at church on Mother's Day. I think they came up for
Yeah.
Mother's Day, and all the mothers they were asking the oldest mothers to stand up,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and, and my mother-in-law
The last
was
one.
the literally the last one. And she looked younger than almost all the other women before her, and that's what really got my attention. So to fast forward, Tina and I recognized there was importance in that, significance in that,
Yeah.
and we just would buy it. Tina's the kind, she just gets on board if it makes sense and she's comfortable with it. She just gets on board. So we would begin to buy vitamins and minerals and begin,
Okay.
yeah, and that was our journey.
Well,
Yeah.
Tina,
Uh,
I think I'm learning some of the secrets of your beauty. Because anybody that knows Tina, if you're listening to this podcast and if you've never seen Tina Gamble, you know she is stunning, right? She is just like a
Yes.
stallion, tall, slim, just,
yeah,
and she does not look her age. Trust me, she does not. So,
yeah,
Tina, I think I'm finding out the secret of your success. Your mama
yeah.
did slipping you them herbs all your
That's
life.
right. Them
Oh
herbs.
yeah, oh
Yes.
yeah, for sure.
I'm serious. And Dr. Too. And drinking that water.
Oh yes.
was a believer
Yeah.
in drinking all. If you're supposed to drink this amount today, you're supposed to drink it to replenish. And she just was
Yeah.
ahead of the time, her time dealing with that.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking
Yeah.
about in sickness and in health, and we're talking about marriage and self care. And Tina, I know from you and your father and your mother for years. How long your parents married before?
64 years.
64 years before he went home to be with the Lord first, and then
Yes.
mom.
Yes.
And I know, Mike, your father died when you were younger, right? And your mother raised you, but your mother lived a long time. Both of you come from mothers who lived a long. How long was your mother when she
Well,
passed,
well, she was
Michael?
97, but my dad didn't pass until he was 83, and
Wow.
that was 1993.
Wow.
So
So
yeah, so
y'all
my
come
father
from
was
people that
well up in
lived a
age.
long life. And
Yes.
okay, good,
Hmm.
good, good. I
Yeah.
mean that
Yeah.
that's impressive. And
Yeah.
so you both have seen marriage modeled in
Yes.
Both
longevity,
of
is
us.
what I'm
Yes.
trying to say. You
Hmm.
both have
Absolutely.
For
seen
sure.
marriage modeled in longevity. So maybe, do you think maybe you got some of the way you all operate in terms of supporting each other in your fitness goal, your health goals, and just in general from what you saw modeled?
For
Absolutely.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
No doubt about it.
And Dr. T, another thing, actually, the anniversary of it is coming up on the 2nd. June
Mm-hmm.
2nd was our real first traumatic experience. When I had Gideon, is when I had those three massive hemorrhages and died, had that whole out of body experience.
Mm-hmm.
That within itself, early on, it was what,
Oh
our
yeah.
second year of marriage. I mean, third.
No second.
Yeah, second year
Hmm.
of marriage.
Hmm.
And it was so, I think because of the closeness of losing life, we
Mm.
really fought and really was more intentional about
Mm.
being there for each other and just,
Mm.
helping each
Hmm.
other out. I think because as you were talking, I was really thinking back on that. And from that experience, I know
Hmm.
that made us hold on even tighter.
In talking with the Canyons, Bishop Michael Canyon said something. I even shared it with Bishop Alvarado when we got done. He talked about, they went through the COVID-19. They're recovering from COVID-19 right now, both of them. And
Hmm.
and he said that for him, he was more afraid of dying and leaving his wife than he was
Right.
about dying himself. It was like the
Mhm.
thought of he might die and leave her
Right.
was what scared him the most. And he
Exactly.
said that, for when he left to go to the hospital, she stayed home. um he went to the hospital first, and he said,
Wow.
when he turned around and looked in her eye, and the look in her eye said, will he come back?
My.
And so he was like, he'll just never forget the look that was in her eye. And she talked about, it was so emotional. She said she even teared up in our interview and said it's hard for her to even talk about it right now. The fact that
Hmm.
it was the first time the real possibility of losing one another
Yeah.
Right.
was, and we take these vows, we stand before God and a community, even if we are standing in front of a justice of peace or whatever, we say, our vows in sickness, and then we say, for richer or for poorer, right?
Hmm.
For better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. We make that vow. And there's a couple of things I want to say about that, and I want to get you all to share a little more about that piece. And that is, we say it often, Bishop and I, that when couples stand, when we're getting married, when we are actually making those vows, we're not really thinking worse. We're thinking better. We're not
Absolutely.
thinking
Right.
poorer. We're
Absolutely.
thinking richer. We're not thinking
Hmm.
sickness. We're thinking health.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
nobody is standing on their wedding day thinking, oh, Lord, I'm just so glad to be able to support this person if we lose everything and have to start all over. I'm
That's
just so
right.
glad you connected me. And we're not thinking, Lord, if they get sick, thank you for giving me the opportunity to care for them the rest of their life. That's not what
Hmm.
we're thinking.
No.
But
Hmm.
life
Right.
happens, right? And
Right.
things happen. And even though we're Christians, things happen. That does not
Absolutely.
exempt us from life and from things happening. So, talk about the importance of those vows that we make, and how those vows are tested when one of us becomes sick.
Hmm. Well, let let me throw this in before I respond, Dr. Tony. When Tina and I when I got engaged, I asked Tina to marry me, and we were talking. Before we set a marriage date, I told her, and this was just how I came up in the Lord. When I made my commitment, I was just in, and I told her, I want you to meet my elder, my big brother in the faith, like a father to me, and you know, if he says this is not time to get married, we're gonna have to wait till homeboy says it's time to get married.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the reason I'm mentioning that is because there was a point in time when um, I told Tina that we were at a couple of functions or whatever, and we would talk about just being together,
Mm, mm, mm,
and we were committed to that,
mm-hmm.
and I think out of that, as we approach getting married, that we had kind of decided it's gonna be just you and me, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Our
Mm-hmm.
children gonna be gone, so at some point it's gonna be you and I. And I think
Mm-hmm.
toward that end, after the event with Gideon being born, I
Mm-hmm.
think it was the resurrection of, man, we got to take care of each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
now
Okay.
I had
Okay.
gotten diagnosed with diabetes and having sugar problems because my father had it, but it was
Mm-hmm.
really because
Mm-hmm.
I followed that same diet,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
came to realize that, man, you can manage that and eradicate that if you do right by your body, because your body has the ability to heal itself.
Okay.
But
Okay.
our covenant, we just took our vows serious
Yeah.
that
Okay.
it's you and I.
Okay.
And I think Tina felt the same way, and we pretty much have tried to live toward that. I'm the kind of guy, I don't want to be the one mess up. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be the one saying, the Lord saying, now, Mike, if you just done what you said you were going to do. So I try to double check myself,
Okay.
and I am personally a fan of hers. We have been,
I
I
like
have
that.
been a fan of her. No, really, I've been a supporting fan. When I first met the sister, she had a four, how was kilo 5, and a
Mm-hmm.
7-year old single in Atlanta coming here out of a traumatic event in her hometown,
Okay.
and she came here on faith, and she was my first time addressing her. I won't make this long. The first time I went to see her, she was listening to a gospel radio station, and they were collecting food for families. But at that time, she was getting food stamps,
Oh wow.
and she was putting food aside to take down to that radio station. I knew she was special lady.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
knew she was special lady. I was like, homegirl's a real thing.
Tina.
Yeah.
um,
I'm gonna answer a question.
yeah, yeah. Well, yes. The taking our vows seriously,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
just the whole supportive piece. And I, Dr. Tony, after that experience, of really knowing that you're going somewhere, because
Mm-hmm.
the whole, I
Mm-hmm.
saw them working on me. I
Okay.
knew
Mm-hmm.
that I had died, and I knew it wasn't my time. So all of that just got very serious to me. So from that point on, every day becomes important. Every day.
Okay.
So even like I'm a check and balance with Michael, because since he changed his diet, one of the things I do, I'm checking him out. I'm checking when he's losing weight. I'm checking when he's gaining weight.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
being
Mhm.
more aware, both of
Right.
us.
Right.
Okay.
And he does the same with me,
Okay.
because we know
In
we're not.
particular, as we get older.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What's crazy is our kids. We've heard more from our children during this pandemic,
Right.
because we have to realize we're in the vulnerable age bracket.
Right. Right. Right.
And so they're calling, making sure, are y'all staying in? Are you being healthy? Are you
Yeah.
covering up?
Yeah.
And but we have to take it seriously, our bodies. But I
Take it
believe
seriously. Okay.
we have to take it seriously. Just eating right, just making sure that he's taking, or because he's been trying to naturally wean off of whatever the little pill is he's taking. So I'm more of, are you eating? Are you
Okay.
getting all your carbs? Are you,
Mm-hmm.
just and exercise? Now that's a piece we got to pick up from you,
Right.
Okay.
because
Right.
both of us,
Right.
now we have to get these muscles,
Yeah.
Okay.
the physical part.
Well, I want to recommend walking. I'm telling you, if you can't do anything else,
Yeah.
walk, and you can walk
Yeah.
Yes.
together, walk
Yeah.
separately, get in walking clubs, or I've committed this year, with this pandemic, particularly, that now I walk on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it has been the most. I call it my therapy now. It's
Good.
Yeah.
part of my therapy. I still see my therapist and do other things, but that's been part of my therapy and my self care through
Yeah.
this pandemic, is
Yeah.
going to different, and then taking advantage to go to different parks and walk. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's giving me an opportunity to see things that I hadn't seen, that's right been in my backyard or a
Right.
few yards away, and just seeing nature and enjoying
Yes.
nature and stuff like
Yes.
that has been reviving me and
Yes.
keeping me healthy and whole during this time. Tina, you were diagnosed with cancer. What year was that?
It was 2013.
2013.
Yes.
And you went through couple, I think, a surgery and some other things that you had to go through, treatment, cancer
Yes.
treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
talk to us a little bit about how you all, Mike, how did that,
Wow.
how did you,
Wow.
what was that like for you supporting
Um,
her?
and this not to be deep. I think I was just kind of on automatic pilot, and out of my, I really wasn't. I was doing a lot of things. I was still working. We had a business that had just started picking up. My mother was in declining health, and my wife gets this diagnosis. So I kind of, for a long time, with a smile and trying to
Mm-hmm.
keep myself encouraged, was a zombie, just kind of on
Mm-hmm.
automatic pilot. I would call Bishop at any time of day or night. He would always be there, give me an encouraging word. He say, "Hey man, if you feel like crying, cry. If you feel like laughing, laugh." He said, "If you feel like cussing, try not to." But he said, "But he said, what you feel is what you feel." And that was very helpful to me. But I knew that Tina and I had at least invested our time in really trying to eat right, trying to take vitamins and minerals, which we found to be a very vital, important part of our health. And so, literally, I was just confident in that.
Okay.
And I would talk to the doctor, and I would read up as much as I could understand without a medical, background, and knew that she had a chance of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And but
Mm-hmm.
but one of the things that really stood out was I knew her. I knew her
Mm-hmm.
commitment to her diet. I knew her commitment to her God. I knew she was the best wife, best mother. I said she has every natural reason for for God and for her body to respond in her favor. And that's just my
Oh,
rationale.
I love that. I like
That's
the
just
way
my
you put
rationale.
that. For
Yes.
God and her body, because of what she had done before the
Yes.
cancer.
Yes.
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 And that
Yes.
that's important because
Yes.
a
It
lot of
is.
times, when if you're already at a level of health, a certain level of health, when sickness comes, that's
Yes.
been one of the things that they're telling us about the COVID-19. Now, of course, there's always outliers to
Sure.
anything, and there's still a lot we don't know about COVID-19.
Right.
But one of the things early on they were saying was that it impacted people with pre-existing conditions
Sure.
Yes.
differently, in a
Sure.
much more severe way, and some
Yes.
even lost their lives because of pre-existing conditions, not so
Right.
much the COVID-19, but the other stuff that they
That's
That's
couldn't
right.
get
right.
treated.
That's
And
right.
so
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I advocate for staying healthy, because it doesn't mean sickness won't come,
That's
but
right.
it does better your chances of recovery
Yes.
Yes.
if you're already at a certain level of health and wellness.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
Dr. T, it's not. I think if we were open to just a little research, we'll find the body that God created is an incredible body. It's
Mm.
created to
Yes.
heal and heal itself.
Yeah.
If you don't continuously damage it through poor eating and lack of exercise and
Yes.
so on and so forth.
Yes.
Yes.
It really is. As simple as a cut on your arm. If you wash it, make sure it doesn't get infected, it'll heal itself.
It will.
So it really is.
Yes.
The
It
body is
will.
really developed to do
It's
that.
designed to do so. And
Yes, ma'am.
75 to 80%, research is saying 75 to 80% of diseases are connected to lifestyle. They're
Yeah.
lifestyle diseases.
That's exactly right.
Now, of
Correct.
course, like I said, there's always outliers, and there's always things that are beyond our control,
Right.
Sure.
genetic things, environmental things that come
Sure.
upon us, even if we are taking good care of ourselves.
Yes.
Sure.
There are things that happen.
Right.
like this virus that we're experiencing right now, this pandemic.
Yes.
This is beyond our control. But if I do get it, my prayer is that my body will respond in a way that will help heal itself, and not take me out from it.
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
Dr. Tony, that's why this is so important. This platform that you've been promoting has been so helpful because people they have to hear over and over. And now with this, it's not getting ready to go anywhere.
No, it's not.
So we can't even let our guards down. And that is kind of where I've been, especially since the cancer, going through cancer. I take the same vitamins that I took when I was
Hmm.
going through cancer.
Eh,
And since I
that's right.
refused that round of chemo,
Chemotherapy. Right.
I said, well, you know what? Then what's been working, I just need to continue to do.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
even so, when the pandemic and they were shutting things down, even at the academy, they were asking who was afraid to come, who had elderly parents or whatever,
Right.
and I said I don't have a problem with coming
Right.
Wow.
because I had to build my immune system up even more than what I was doing before I started at the academy because parents send their little kids
Hmm.
snotting all over the place
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
coughing.
That's
Hmm.
And
right.
there were a few times I would feel something in my throat. I had to double up on my C's, get
Hmm.
my
Black.
turmeric,
Yeah.
black
Black
seed
seed
oil,
oil.
my olive
Oh
leaf.
Yep.
Lord. Oh
Yeah.
Jesus. I feel like I'm
Listen.
listening to Dr. Calvin Ellison all over again. He was on my
Yeah.
he's a part of the June series, and
Yeah.
he talked about that turmeric and all of that. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm telling you. And Tina, I want to go back to something you said you refused a round of chemo.
Yes, I was they had, what's it called? The protocol for my healing, I was supposed to have 4 rounds of
Chemo.
chemo, which came home with me. It looked just like a water bottle, and it was attached to me
Right.
Okay.
for 4 days. It was some of the strongest chemo that you get.
Okay.
You have to usually just go there and have your chemo. Well, no,
Right.
I had to come home and it stayed with me for days. And then I was supposed to do it at the end of my radiation, the last 4 days.
Right.
After the first 4 days, um, I had a vision of my home going at church. And I was like, oh no, the devil is a lie. And but I felt something different with my body. And
Mm.
so every time I thought about when I was supposed to take the next round of chemo, I got very nervous. I got that I was being grieved. You know how you think
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
something and you just get that, and it was the same feeling that when God was really telling me it was time for me to come out from the entertainment. Every
Okay.
time it was time for me to go to a rehearsal, I got this feeling, and I knew I wasn't supposed to be a part of this anymore. Well,
Mhm.
I didn't say a word, Dr. T, but Michael, but I knew I didn't want to have the next round of chemo. But Michael said it to me. He said, I think you're supposed to pray about if you're going to take that second round of chemo. But I had already made up my mind. But since I had some sores in my mouth from the chemo from before, I wasn't really talking. And but I knew I didn't want to take it. And that's when we talked with you. We shared with you and
Mhm.
Bishop. I wasn't gonna. I didn't feel
Yeah.
comfortable because I really tossed back and forth
Mhm.
if I was going to do the
Any of
treatment
it.
anyway.
Right. I
Right.
remember. Mhm.
And
Right.
so, and what happened was, first of all, you have to trust God whether you do the treatment
Or
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 you
not.
don't
not.
do the
Mhm.
treatment.
Right.
Right. Right.
But after research, and then I found out really after the fact that
After research, you
after
listen, you all.
research,
If you're listening, do your research.
there you
Yep.
go.
That's right.
And one of the reasons I don't share a lot about my testimony because see, everybody's faith is different, everybody's body is different.
Right.
Um, one of the doctors told Michael I was one of the most
The
healthiest.
healthiest. He said unequivocally, he was the top guy in the radiation department. She was the healthiest patient he has seen at Cancer Center Treatment
Wow.
of America
Wow.
since they have been there.
Wow. Wow.
He said she is a healthy woman with a tumor.
Wow.
So
Wow.
That was his declaration.
yes.
Yeah.
So what I did, even before I realized where the tumor was or what stage it was, and it was stage 3B.
Mhm.
Um, I did the research and Michael did some research, and we just found whatever the protocol was for a person that has stage 4 cancer to heal themselves holistically. So we ordered stuff and
Yep.
I started taking it because it took 2 months before I could even find out where it was in
That's
my
right.
body.
That's right.
So now you're talking, people wonder why I didn't tell everybody. We didn't have nothing to tell. And we had to guard our minds. And I told our children, I said, don't have me in the grave. We don't know what's going on until we find out.
Wow.
I hear God saying, don't say anything.
Wow.
But we researched, we found out what people who are survivors to this day took with stage 4 cancer.
Yep.
I started taking it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yes. And he
Lord Jesus.
supported me, you know,
Yeah.
and what I loved was we trust God and we were willing, whatever. If I left out of here, we were trusting God. If I had to go through it, but I can guarantee you because the naturopathic doctor confirmed it after the fact. If I had taken that other round of chemo, I would not be here.
Wow.
Because once I refused, and they try to really encourage you to do it because it
Right.
doesn't look good for your life if
Right.
you don't.
Right.
Well, when I went back after a year, he said, give me permission to check out your medical history
Right.
because I need to see what was going on with your body. And so he did. When I
Wow.
went back
Wow.
6 months later, what he found out, I'm in the 3% of the people that have an abnormally low white blood cell count. He asked me, were you a sickly child? You should have been a sickly child. You must have been a sickly child. I said, no, I very seldom get sick. He said, you didn't get cold. And I said, no. So, because
Wow.
I should have been. But look, it goes back to how
Mhm.
mom
I was
raised
going to say that vitamin Bible, girl. Come on, come on.
Yep.
And
us.
Yep.
Mike is good for sending us text messages, anything. If we look like we got a cold, Mike gonna send
Yeah.
us a text. Take this,
Right.
take that. And
Yeah.
even when when we're going through with Josh, he'll say, "Have
Yes,
Josh eat this." It's
Right.
hard with them young
Right.
adults, though, Mike. I'm telling you, it's
Yeah.
hard. I wish I
Exactly.
could just wrestle him down to the ground and make him take
Right.
those
oh yes,
vitamins. We're just trying to make sure he stay on that medicine as much as possible. But
Sure. Absolutely.
right,
hey,
right.
Absolutely.
but you know
Sure.
how I am about health, and with Bishop, when Bishop was,
Yes,
when we found out that he was gonna have to, he might when he got diagnosed with diabetes,
Right.
and we had to change everything. And I mean,
Yeah.
when he
Right.
absolutely
went through
right.
those
Yeah.
classes,
Yeah.
at Kaiser for to learn how to eat differently, I went through them with him, and it
Absolutely.
changed the way I eat
Yes,
even to this day. And
Yes.
I mean, it's just amazing how and we've gone through our battles of illness, in our with him, with me, with our children, particularly
Mhm.
with Joshua. And so, but you're right; those things test us at a different level
yes,
in our relationship, and particularly in our marriage. So let me just, as we wrap up, is there any, if you could give any advice to any couple or even single person about just having a support system for health and wellness, because some of my listeners are single, they may
mhm,
not be married, or they may be married and still don't feel supported, or they may be single and wondering, well, how do I have somebody support me? I'm single. So
mhm.
talk about the importance of having a good support system for health and wellness.
You're
What
right.
advice would you give?
It's interesting. I mean, I would always find out when you need support, then you need to find people who believe in that. Because
Mhm.
when you talk a lot of times to people who don't think it takes all of that,
I'm a witness.
yeah,
Yes.
they're like, they see you coming and they'll catch themselves. They'll say, "Ooh, I
Mhm.
was feeling like," and they catch themselves because they know you tell us, we're going to say, "Well, you know what? Are you taking
Well, Dr. Tony, we're like that because
it
we
works?"
not only does it work, but we wrestle with if we care about them, and at
Yes,
least if we know if this is information that has benefited us, we feel like we are obligated to at least share it
right.
for them to
Yes.
consider,
Yes.
Yes,
to consider it. You see,
yes,
and it takes. 30 years is a long time to know whether you've been on the wrong track.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think, is that has been very beneficial to me is I Google and research everything I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
without a medical background.
You are known for sending a link.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Michael
Yes, ma'am.
Gamble gonna
Uh,
send you a link
yes, ma'am. All
via
my friends will say
text,
the same
via
thing.
email. He
Yes,
gonna be
ma'am.
like, check out this website and read this. And you know what, Tina? Sometimes Michael just send us a text out the blue, with no warning,
Right.
no no message before it, just a link, just a
I
link.
remember. I remember I got to send a little message before.
He
But I
just
just
send you a link
it's
out of the blink, and it don't ain't no rhyme or reason. It might
Right.
be midnight at night. It might be 6 in the morning. I guess
times a day.
whenever he think about it. Oh my, you got a link. You
There
got a
might
link
be a link or
ministry,
something, man.
Mike. You got a link ministry.
Think of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
link ministry.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right. That's what we probably need to call it
It
too.
has benefited us tremendously.
I
Yes.
It
know.
has benefited us
And it's
tremendously, and
benefited us too. I'm telling you,
yes,
you
amen.
you all have supported us and our health goals. And I know
Yes,
when Bishop got diagnosed with being pre-diabetic and then moving over into diabetes, and he look, you were one of his main counselors.
Yes.
yes,
He
Hmm.
called you. He was like, "Hey, Mike, tell me what to do, what to take,
yeah,
and,
amen.
and you would tell him, listen to your wife, listen to Dr. Tony.
Right, that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Thank you,
Well,
thank you."
let me quickly say one of the things you said some time ago. I don't know whether we had moved to our new location by then or not, but you were talking about your regimen and how
Right.
you had to push yourself, and the more you did it, the easier it was to do it. And
Right.
you said the reason why you were pushing Bishop J was because hey, you didn't want him to check it out early on.
That's right.
Right.
You love not only that you loved him, but hey, I don't want you to be leaving here before you're supposed to be leaving here. So
Right.
I need you to consider, working out a little more or whatever. And I thought it just made so much sense.
And
But
you
I've
know
never
what?
forgotten
And
that.
that's it. One of the things I say in my book, and I often say to people about self care. Self care is not selfish. Actually, I can't take
That's
care of
right.
you if I'm not taking care of
That's
me.
correct.
And
That's
when
right.
Amen.
I'm healthy and well, that's a gift to everybody in my community.
Yes.
I'm
Absolutely
a
right.
gift to my family. If the
Amen.
I said to my children one time recently, I was like, if you are unhealthy and unwell, then your family has to end up taking care of you. And
Right.
that's time away from their job. That's time away from their career. That's time away from their money. You're gonna pay one way or the other. You're gonna pay either to be healthy or you're gonna pay to be sick.
That's
And
That's
right.
it.
so
That's
so
true.
we might as well invest in being healthy, and not just me
Yep.
being healthy, but my whole family, my whole community. Because
Absolutely.
what's the
Yep.
point of me being healthy and everybody else in the house is sick?
Right.
Absolutely.
Not good.
Absolutely.
Not good.
Yeah.
Good, good, good.
Yep.
Any final advice to couples?
Um, just to, I think always be intentional. Talk about what your health goals are. Talk about what's going on with your body. That's the one thing I was going to say, even for everyone. Know your body. Know when you're feeling good. Know when something is a
Hmm.
little off, and don't be slack in responding to that, because our
Right.
bodies are always speaking to us.
Yeah. Right.
Hmm.
And if
Absolutely.
I wasn't constantly in tune, and that's why they say when it was anal cancer, that if that's the one that a lot of times people overlook till it's too late.
Okay.
Hmm.
Know your
You
body.
end up dying or having a colostomy bag.
Hmm.
But if
Hmm.
you're not in tune, I was in tune with my body that
Went
wasn't
right.
normal.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yes, just
Yeah,
So
I,
know
I
your
agree. I
body.
think, I would agree. I would say also, particularly to brothers, that one of the things that's important, especially as you get older, but even as a young man, be honest to thine own. My father used to say this all the time to me: to thine own self, be true. You,
Okay.
you can't. It's important to be honest with yourself, and it's nothing. It's no slack on your manhood if you don't feel well. I grew up. Unfortunately, I grew up a sickly child because I had older parents, and they didn't know that a lot of the dust and them being
Hmm.
older and not being able to clean up as well. I was allergic to it, so I was sick every year.
milk.
Upper respiratory infection, eating
Okay.
cheese and milk. I didn't know until I was in college that I couldn't eat that stuff.
Wow.
So it's important to be honest with yourself and be transparent with your wife on how you're feeling. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with sharing. I don't feel that well. There's nothing wrong with taking a day or two just to rest.
You won't get your man card revoked.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Amen. As a
And
matter
go
of
to
fact,
the
you'll live
doctor.
longer.
Yeah.
Go to the doctor.
Go to
Thank
the
you.
No,
doctor.
for
That's
sure.
right,
Yes.
because that's one
Mm-hmm.
of the things our husbands or men sometimes tend to not do, and wives are pushing them. You need to go
Yes.
to the doctor and all of that.
Correct.
Um, good. Thank you,
Thank
Mike. Thank you,
you.
Thank you for
Tina. You
having me.
guys,
Thank you.
y'all.
Yeah.
I appreciate you all for helping us with this
Yep.
conversation. I can't wait for everybody to just really listen in and pull this in. And I know that there's going to be fruit coming out of this conversation.
Amen.
Not just, like I said, not just for our marrieds, but even for those who are single in our community. It's
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
important that we have a healthy community. That's why I'm doing this podcast, because I believe in this message. I know what it's done in my life, and I'm like you, Mike.
Yes.
Why get something good and not want to share it with others? And so
Absolutely.
that's why I ask some of the best people in the world to come on here and just share your information, share freely as I have received freely. I want to give back to my
That's
community
right.
because I
Right.
want a healthy community. I want to be a part of
Amen.
a healthy marriage. I want my children to be healthy. I want my family healthy. I want my church family healthy. I want the
Mm-hmm.
community in which I live, the world, as much as possible, if I can
Yes.
do my part. And especially now, as we are in this COVID-19
Absolutely.
pandemic,
Right.
how important is our health and wellness? I mean, little did I know when I started this podcast on March 2nd that we would be in a pandemic.
Isn't that something?
I had no idea.
Right.
When
Mm.
God told,
Right.
and I had it in my heart to do this last year and never got around to it. And when I came into 2019, the Lord said, "This is the year to do." 2020, the Lord said, "This is the year. You doing it this year." So I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay, well, we'll launch it in March." I'm thinking, okay, I'm launching it in connection with Women's History Month because it's March. And but little did I know that we would be
Oh,
in a global pandemic,
Mm.
yes.
and health and wellness will be at the forefront
That's right.
of
Absolutely.
what we needed. So I believe nothing happens by accident and nothing
That's
happens
right.
by happenstance. I wasn't no genius in doing this, but I was just following God and following the leading of the Holy Spirit. And I see this as a part of my ministry and what God has called me to
For
do.
sure.
And I appreciate you for being on this journey, for being a role model to me, because in a lot of ways you've helped me, particularly when it comes to the herbs. I have my own herb and vitamin regimen based on some of the
Amen.
recommendations that you have made. And
Amen.
so I
Thank
appreciate you all. Thank you again, Mike. Thank you,
you. You're
Tina.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome. Thank you, Dr. Tony.
I am so delighted about bringing the Harmonize Your Life podcast to you. Would you do me a favor? If you are enjoying this podcast, would you email me at hello@drtonyalvarado.com? I want to hear from you. I want your feedback. I want to know if there are any other topics that you are interested in as it relates to wellness, self-care, nutrition, or just overall bringing harmony into your life. Email me, contact me at hello@drtonyalvarado.com.